Welcome back to Study in Australia, live from Bond. In our final segment for the day, we're exploring the Faculty of Health Sciences and Medicine, and we've got some great alumni joining us very shortly. But before we get started, let's give you an overview of the faculty. The Faculty of Health Sciences and Medicine includes programs in biomedical science, health sciences, healthcare innovations, exercise and sports science, physiotherapy, nutrition and dietetic practice, and of course, occupational therapy. In addition to the faculties here on the main campus, Bond has a state-of-the-art Institute of Health and Sport, which is home base for our allied health degrees. One of our very own Canadian Bond students, Sarah Marco, took us for a tour of the Institute. Sarah, take it away.
Bond University on Australia's Gold Coast. My name is Sarah, and while I'm currently based here, you might be able to tell that I'm actually from Ontario, Canada. I came to Bond in January 2020, and I'm studying a Master of Nutrition and Dietetic Practice. Located just a few minutes from Bond's main campus, the Bond Institute of Health and Sport is an amazing and specialized precinct. Students from Bond's exercise and sports science, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and nutrition and dietetics programs use this world-class facility, which we call BIHS, or the Institute. Elite athletes train here, and students even have the opportunity to provide sports science testing and training services to them. The facility is also used by researchers, academics, and students. As a Canadian student, there are a few standout reasons why these facilities provide outstanding opportunities for us. Here at Bond, you are guaranteed an exceptional learning experience that exceeds Canadian requirements. I have found Bond to offer a highly personalized learning experience where I study in small class sizes taught by leading professors and industry experts. Let's take a look at some of the specific facilities and spaces provided to students at the Bond Institute of Health and Sport and see for yourself. Within BIHS is the Bond High Performance Training Center, which has been awarded a 2020 to 2023 Strength of America Award for its world-class strength and conditioning standards. Ours was the only center in Australia to receive this prestigious accolade, which is jointly awarded by the U.S. National Strength and Conditioning Association and the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. The facility attracts international and national sporting teams, so we're learning alongside the world's best athletes, using the world's best equipment and resources. The Health and Sports Science Laboratories are used by students studying exercise and sports science, physiotherapy, and nutrition and dietetics. They have access to specialized technology and equipment where they learn to deliver a wide range of activities such as testing and performance analysis. Bond continually invests in equipment and resources to ensure we have access to the most up-to-date, advanced, and industry-standard equipment. The Institute not only includes a lap and rehab pool, but several contrast temperature recovery pools, sauna, and steam rooms. As a nutrition and dietetics student, I found that the skills we learn set us up for success when we go on placement. The master's program has 24 weeks of placement incorporated into the program. Bond's Nutrition and Dietetic Practice program is accredited with Dietitians Australia. As the requirement for registration in each province back home in Canada is slightly different, you'll need to consult with a provincial dietetic body if you wish to practice back home. In the clinical skills rooms, students studying allied health programs gain practical and authentic experience. Students are exposed to a variety of real-world situations in hospital-based and outpatient environments before they start work placements as part of their degree. In fact, the physiotherapy program has the most clinical hours of any degree in Australia. Bond's medical allied health students gain practical experience at the Clinical Education and Research Centre at Robina Hospital. The occupational therapy rooms are specially designed teaching spaces to enable students to acquire the hands-on skills needed for a successful career in occupational therapy, such as physical rehabilitation, assistive technology, and communication. These specially designed facilities include a simulated living space, ergonomics workspace, observation room, and splinting laboratory. If you're interested in studying Bond's Master of Occupational Therapy, then it's important to note that our program provides the minimum of 1,000 hours of fieldwork, which allows Canadian students to qualify to become an OT in Canada once they meet the competency-based exam requirements. The Doctor of Physiotherapy postgraduate program is an accelerated program which students can complete in just 2 years. The Institute has dedicated and specialized physiotherapy teaching spaces, as well as smaller clinical skill rooms to prepare you for all your clinical placement experience. Facilities include physiotherapy treatment benches, clinical simulation areas, and more. To To practice physiotherapy in Canada, graduates of Bond's program will need to pass the Physiotherapy Competency Examination to be credentialized by the Canadian Alliance of Physiotherapy Regulators. Before we finish, I wanted to talk to you about what happens after your degree. Bond has a career development center with dedicated specialists to help you gain work experience and internships, including in Canada. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know the facilities at the Bond Institute of Health and Sport. If you have any questions about starting at Bond, please reach out to Stuart Floyd. He was such a huge help when I was deciding where to study, and you're in very good hands with his guidance on your side.
Well, it's a very impressive facility, and I can see why so many international sporting teams choose to train here when they're in Australia. As we've heard from Sarah, one of the programs based in the Institute of Health and Sport is Occupational Therapy, also known as OT. Occupational therapy is one of the fastest growing professions in Australia and the world. Joining us to tell us more about Bond's OT degree is Professor Susan Brandis, who is actually the head of the program. Welcome, Susan. How are you today?
Hi, Candice.
So could you give us a snapshot about OT? What is occupational therapy?
Sure. We're a little understood profession, but very broad, so we cover from birth to death. The goal of occupational therapy is to enable people to do things that they need to do and want to do to live a full, meaningful, independent life. A little thing we say is physios will teach you how to walk, and OT will show you how to do your shoelaces, do your makeup, and go to the dance. So
Oh, wow. I didn't
very much
realise
about
that.
functional outcomes.
Very detail orientated by the sounds of it. So our program is actually very different to others. Can you talk to us about the extended level masters? How does that help graduates practice OT?
Certainly. So a key feature, point of differentiation is that we offer two advanced streams. One is a clinical research stream and the second is a business research stream. The business stream, the students are able to do subjects from our business school, from the MBA program or the Masters of Health Innovation program, and the goal of that is to prepare them for a career in private practice and setting up their own business, whereas the research stream is more clinically focused and leads towards more academic studies in terms of doing a PhD.
Now, I understand you need to be accredited as an OT to actually practice.
Absolutely.
What is the process then for gaining that accreditation once you've completed your Bond degree?
Certainly. So there's a number of steps in that. The Bond program is accredited and recognised by the World Federation of Occupational Therapists, so that's really important, which means that our qualification is recognised in Canada, and then there's a three-stage process with that. So we assist the students with the first stage, which is getting all of their documentation together and making sure that they've got evidence of their key competencies. They then apply, there's a written exam which we prepare our students for, and then an interview when they go back to Canada.
Okay, and what about the practical placements? Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, sure. So we have a minimum of 1,000 clinical hours in the program, so about a fifth of those hours are embedded in the subjects. The first clinical practice experience is in week 5, and then the students do 3 block placements. Now, the next question I usually get asked is, where's those placements? So I've come from Gold Coast University Hospital this morning, so I was rushing to make sure I was here on time. Most of our placements are in southeast Queensland, northern New South Wales. However, depending on where students come from, we have had students placements in Tasmania. For example, we've got some coming up in rural and remote in Darwin. So it really does depend, but we try and make sure that the students get experience across the full spectrum of care, which is paediatrics, mental health, adult rehabilitation, acute care and community.
It truly is life-changing what you do.
It is. It's
Keep
very
up the amazing
comprehensive,
work.
very comprehensive.
The fact that you've just come from the hospital just, explains it all. So thank you so much, Susan.
That's
We're
all right.
very
It's a
grateful
pleasure.
for you leaving the hospital. So we're going to be back in a moment. We're going to be talking about nutrition and dietetic practice. But first, we're going to get a glimpse into a day in the life of an OT student.
When I first started thinking about doing occupational therapy, I asked someone who was an occupational therapist, and they told me to think about it as in terms of something that occupies time, or anything that occupies time. And that held a little bit more context to me in that it was everything. there was nothing sort of off limits for what an occupational therapist can do in terms of therapy that they deliver. A typical day would be come in and set up the clinic for therapy, and you would have your standard client list, and this might involve things like sprinting, exercising, stretching, pain management. So I've kind of learnt that you have to think on your feet a little bit when you're doing hand therapy. Each case is specific. Everyone's individual, and the things that are important to someone are totally different to the things that are important to another. There's a very individualised focus of occupational therapy, and we work with a person to meet those goals that are relevant to them.
A lot of universities produce a lot of good students, but Bond, as Natty as an example, has been able to demonstrate well above average baseline knowledge of anatomy and biomechanics and kinesiology. I think Bond's instilled in him excellent communication skills, interviewing skills, compared to other universities and other students that we've had in our practice.
It's a little bit of an addictive feeling when you can go home and you feel like you've actually made a difference to someone. And I find that most of the people I work with are similar personality types in that they all get satisfaction from helping.
Now on to another equally important part of allied health, nutrition and dietetic practice. The Master of Nutrition and Dietetic Practice is an extended level master's degree, which means Bond graduates are more competitive in the job market. It also incorporates 24 weeks of professional placement internships and a 20-week research internship. Here with me in the studio is the co-head of the program, Dr. Diane Riedlinger. Hi Diane, how are you?
Thanks, Candace.
I actually love this subject matter, to be honest. I have a lot of questions. Can you tell me a little bit about the Master of Nutrition and Dietetic Practice?
Certainly. So the Master of Nutrition and Dietetic Practice is in its 7th year at Bond. We have quite a large number of practical placement subjects within it, but we also have a significant research component as well.
So this is quite similar to OT, the extended level master's part. Why is that important? Why would I study that as opposed to, say, a bachelor or a master's program elsewhere?
Yeah, great question. So what we see sort of these days is something that we call qualification creep, where everybody used to just get a bachelor's and go off and work. Then people started to get masters and go off, gain that competitive advantage to get a job. And what we now have is everybody now has a master's. So with our program, we do an extended level 9 master's. It's the equivalent to a 3-year master's completed in 2 years.
In 2 years, it's so incredible what you can get done. So how does the accreditation work to then practice in Canada?
Great question as well. So we are accredited fully with the Dietitians Association of Australia. We do not have accreditation in Canada at the moment. However, we are currently seeking accreditation with the US. We're in the final stages of that, and hopefully we'll have our candidacy soon. With the accreditation in Canada, it is undertaken by Dietitians Canada, so that every province is slightly different. So what I recommend is people get in touch with Dietitians Canada, simply go on the website, select the province that you want to practice in and follow the guidelines around that. Having said that, we do have a graduate who has already successfully gained recognition in Canada, Rachel, and she was in British Columbia, and she has managed to go through that process and navigate that. So we are now able to provide support to people from Canada to go through that process.
Fantastic. We definitely need more people that understand nutrition and dietetics.
We do.
I think it's a very interesting space to learn in. We wanted to get one of the students actually on the broadcast today, but they're all in placement.
They are.
Does that mean that the clinical placements actually make up a large component of the program?
That's right. So we actually have 1,500 hours of placements. Around 600 hours of that is research internship. That's a point of difference for our program. Mm-hmm. We have a 2-week international internship, which is also unique within Australia and around the world. Not many places incorporate that for every student.
Yes.
We have a 2-week elective placement, and then students also complete those sort of more traditional areas of practice, so food service management, clinical nutrition, as well as community and public health nutrition.
Any taste testing involved?
Always.
Sign me up for
Dietitians
that.
love chocolate.
Oh,
So.
I'm there. Well, thank you so much, Diane. Now, if you'd like to connect directly with Diane or Stuart, visit bond.edu.au/study in Australia to get in touch and arrange a personal consultation. We're going now to speak to an alumna who is working in British Columbia in a moment. But first, some Canadian students choose to stay on and work in Australia after graduation. So let's explore the employment landscape here on the Gold Coast.
At Bond, it's no longer about just ticking a set of boxes and saying you're employable. It's all about the individual experience. So we like to work with students on an individual basis, developing skills that are specific to their industry, and that could be through anything that they might undertake while they're studying here at Bond.
It's never been a more exciting time to be on the Gold Coast, either as a resident or as a student or someone coming to work on the Gold Coast. We know that if you have a good idea in this city, the city will get behind you. And that's an amazing opportunity for anyone looking to come and study on the Gold Coast. The opportunity to employ Bond graduates has been fantastic. One of the distinguishing features we see is their preparedness to understand how to do business.
The value that Bond University students bring to this organisation is their willingness to learn and their willingness to be here and really appreciate the opportunity. The testament to the quality of candidates is the fact that we employed one of them full-time after the internship in Rachel Tilley, who's proven to be an amazing new staff member to the World Surf League.
Everything just started lining up when I was at Bond. I was doing my degree and then Bond and WSL partnered, and it was like all my worlds were coming into one place and I was there to experience it. I felt really supported by all my academic lectures and they helped me get to where I am today, and now for that to have turned into a full-time job is just a dream come true.
It's so wonderful to hear that the Gold Coast is in a great position of growth and opportunity. But now we're switching hemispheres to speak to a Master of Nutrition and Dietetic Practice alumna. Rachel Lan is a clinical dietitian at Fraser Health Authority in Vancouver, British Columbia. She completed her master's degree at Bond in 2020 and has since returned to Canada to continue her career. Hi Rachel, how are you today?
Hi, so nice to speak to you.
Oh, it's so great to have you. Now, can you tell us a bit about your journey to studying at Bond? What made you decide it was right for you?
Yeah, so actually I've always wanted to live internationally, and I did my bachelor's degree here in Vancouver, and I was working for a few years, and I knew I wanted to get into dietetics. I just didn't know where. And Australia was always a country that I've always wanted to kind of visit and live in. So while I was looking, I was Googling places to go and I found the Gold Coast and it looked absolutely beautiful. And then actually at that time, one of the head of the programs was in Vancouver for a conference. So she reached out and she was actually able to meet me in person. So I thought that was just amazing. Yeah.
That just shows it was all meant to be. So then how did you go about finding employment after graduation?
Yeah, so after you get your degree over there in Australia, you would have to transfer it back here to Canada, and every province is different. So for my province, it's a few steps. You do have to do a knowledge-based assessment and then a practical assessment, which is an interview type setting. And then from there, if you pass all those assessments, then you can get registered and credited here to become a registered dietitian and work in Vancouver.
And then how did your studies at Bond really prepare you for the real world and of course, your degree?
Yeah, so there's definitely a few practice differences from Canada and Australia, but the program really sets you up with the basic knowledge for you to grow and develop further. But that would be based in any hospital setting, even in Australia, just because the way hospitals work from site to site is quite different. But you would be able to just work right off the bat, I think.
I just love hearing from people who are literally changing the world and working in hospitals and, on the front line. It's incredible. So keep up the amazing work. What are your best memories of Bond and living in Australia?
There's so many things. Definitely the relaxed lifestyle. And right now, it's actually going to be -14 this week. So I definitely miss the sunshine, the beaches, all the food. So many things. I rave about it all the time.
Well, if you're missing the food, don't worry. I'll go out to a few restaurants for you today. Don't worry. I actually was considering studying this because my food obsession is so strong. So, can you tell us a little bit about your role now and what kind of things you do as a clinical dietitian? I'm assuming it's very serious work.
Yeah, so I have a few roles right now. So one of them is being an acute care dietitian. So that's based in a hospital setting, and you work with a multidisciplinary team, including doctors, nurses, OT, physio, speech, all of those, and provide nutrition therapy for patients while they're recovering from things like surgery or just being in hospital. So that's one of my roles. Another one of my roles is being an outpatient diabetes dietitian. So for newly diagnosed diabetic people out in the community, they come to me and they kind of learn about their chronic disease. We also support gestational diabetes. So people who have become pregnant and have become diabetic during their pregnancy, we support them in their journey as well until giving birth and then provide additional support after.
It's so inspiring talking to you, Rachel, and your work is seriously life-changing. It's amazing to think that you learnt that here from Bond. That's really, really special. Do you have any advice for future nutrition and dietetic practice students?
Yeah, I think definitely go online and kind of investigate if that's a career path that you would want to go down. And definitely just don't hesitate to reach out to the team. All the head of programs, the professors there, they're very, they'd love to provide you with help, and no question is too small. They're really there to support you. So it's been a great teamwork to working with them.
Well, thank you so much for dialing in, Rachel. It's so great to hear how a fellow Bond alumna ended up, and you've got such a successful career. Next, we're going to talk about all things physiotherapy.
Tell you a lot of things about a Bond MBA.
We could tell you how it's customised to match your career aspirations.
How you'll develop the skills you need to secure your future.
And have a dedicated mentor to help you get there.
We could tell you how flexible a Bond MBA is.
With elective subjects available across all of our faculties and specialties.
We could tell you how you can complete it in 1 year full-time.
Alongside a truly global cohort of students who will become your network.
We could tell you about the rich global experiences you'll gain from studying alongside peers from more than 20 countries.
And learn from world-class industry leaders who are truly the best in the business.
We could tell you a lot of things about the Bond MBA.
But we'd prefer to show you.
Connect with us today.
We're going to change pace now to physiotherapy. Bond's extended master's program, the Doctor of Physiotherapy, has the highest number of clinical hours of any program in Australia. It means that Bond graduates complete their degrees with more than 1,400 hours of hands-on experience, meeting and exceeding Canadian practice requirements. To tell us about it is Associate Professor of Physiotherapy program here at Bond, Dr. Rob Orr. Hey Rob, how are you today?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having us.
So you've actually spent time in Canada, haven't you?
I have. We just got back just before the pandemic hit. Myself and a group of researchers from our physiotherapy department, including some of our graduating physiotherapy students, presented at the International Congress of Soldier Physical Performance in Quebec City.
There you go. Well, I'm glad. I think it will be my first place I go once the borders open.
I definitely think so. And you've got to try poutine. Apparently it's absolutely amazing. I couldn't stop eating it.
There's so many things I need to explore over there. So can you talk to us now, back on track, Candice, the Doctor of Physiotherapy.
Sure.
Can you give us a snapshot?
So it's a very integrated program. Yes, the pandemic has meant we've had to manipulate it a little bit, but it's a very applied program where we do a lot of theory, a lot of practical. So in the traditional model, basically as soon as you turn up, the second day you're out there in the labs, putting your hands on each other with informed consent and going through techniques. So we have a lot of applied theory and practice, and then we have research and a very strong clinical placement program.
I just love the fact you get to become a doctor. Doctor something. Dr. Kent. I would love that. I'm trying to work out what I should study next.
Well, physiotherapy is here, you know.
That's part of, I studied a Bachelor of Communication, but now I realise that was so quick, I need to do more studying. So this is obviously a really popular program for Canadian students. How many are currently studying this right now?
Right, so of our graduating cohort that's about to graduate, 10 of students are from Canada. Our 2020 cohort, we have 12, and our incoming 2021 cohort, we have 17. And you've got to remember, that's 17 out of 65-ish.
That's phenomenal.
It is.
I love that you know those facts off the top of your head as well. You've done your homework.
I've done my homework.
Excellent. So you've mentioned that some are actually studying remotely, which I find really fascinating. How does that work with then the practical element though?
That's a really good question, because traditionally we are very applied. What we're doing now is we're front-ending it with all the theory and then back-ending it with a lot of the practice. So we do all the theory from starting off with myself, actually. The first subject is foundations of physiotherapy, musculoskeletal physiotherapy, neurological physiotherapy, cardiorespiratory physiotherapy, all the theory. Then we will run through all the prac back to back. And it has pros and cons each way, but then we've also added a specific practical component, a new practical-based subject at the very end called Translations to Practice, where we'll just make sure we fine-tune those skills before they go out in any practical placement.
So now the most important question, what are the entry requirements?
The entry requirements. Okay, so GPA typically of 2.0, but it is a very competitive program, so normally about 2.5 or above is required. Likewise, there are some prerequisites. There's at least 2 semesters of anatomy, 2 of physiology, 1 of exercise physiology, 1 of biomechanics, 1 of statistics, and then 1 of exercise science. So those are the entry requirements, and then from that we normally shortlist to about 200, and we'll run interviews with those 200, normally in about September, and then we'll let them know within about 2 weeks whether or not they've got a place.
Just so fantastic. So how exactly would you apply if you're interested right now?
So if you're interested right now, making sure that you've got all the prereqs is always a must, or making sure you'll have the prereqs ready by the time the actual program starts, and then going onto the Bond website, the physiotherapy website, and going through the process online.
What about the process to gain accreditation in Canada?
That's a really good question, and that's one of the key questions that a lot of our Canadian students ask. So what will happen is we actually have somebody specifically on staff that works on international registration and engagement, and she's also our head of our clinical stream, Assistant Professor Rebecca Terry, and that's one of her primary roles, is making sure that we meet the requirements of the accreditation for Canada, and therefore when the students go back, if they ever go back, half of them stay here, as I'm sure you'll find out in a minute when you interview one of our alumni. They go over and they put in their paperwork against their accreditation requirements, and as long as that paperwork meets some of the other paperwork that they have to fill in, which is more country-specific, they'll sit their examination, which is a requirement of all physiotherapy students in Canada itself.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rob Orr. I've learnt so much. We'll be back in a moment speaking to one of our alumni. Before then, let's take a look inside a physiotherapy placement.
Physiotherapy program here at Bond University. It's a 2-year postgraduate program. We're an accelerated program where we condense 6 semesters into 2 years. Some of the unique characteristics that we have here at Bond, firstly and foremost, is the strong relationships that our academic staff that we get to actually develop with our students, and I think that's primarily due to the smaller cohort numbers that we take in every year, our open door policy, and the passion and the interest that all of our academics here have for teaching. We have the highest number of placement hours in Australia, where our students experience 1,400 hours of clinical placement, which makes them extremely ready for the workforce when they graduate.
So I've had 6 clinical placements while at Bond University, and they've been very diverse. So I've been to Vietnam, I've been to Harvey Bay, I went rural out in Roma, and so it's all been a great variety of caseloads, got to see different kinds of patients, so it was a really good experience, able to travel around Australia while at Bond University.
50% of the whole degree is on placement, so I think that's where you really learn and you get to implement your skills and become work ready. Of the amount of clinical placements that we do, I feel more than ready to go out and be a physiotherapist now because of that extra industry experience that we get. I'm just really looking forward to that opportunity to really implement my skills because I feel like I'm ready to be that. I don't feel unprepared at all, and I think that studying at Bond has enabled me to do that.
Joining me in the studio now to talk about the Doctor of Physiotherapy is one of Bond's very own alumni. Kyle Mitchell travelled to Australia to study the Doctor of Physiotherapy back in 2012. He loved it so much that he now calls the Gold Coast home. Hi Kyle, do you still love the Gold Coast?
Still love it.
Okay, great. So can we talk about your journey of coming to choose Bond as your university?
Okay. I graduated in 2010 from UBC in Vancouver. One of my friends actually did the law program here, and he said, I think they have physio, so I looked into it. There's a company called Austrek that really helped me get my way to here, so it was an easy application, and it was quite harmless for me to get the application through. It was awesome, yeah.
It's great that you're still here. What were some of the highlights? You obviously had a great time.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think just coming from Canada, the weather, just especially in Vancouver, can be a bit wet and rainy, and coming out here with the beaches and the sun, it was quite an eye-opener. Just the cultural lifestyle here is amazing and relaxed and laid back and very similar to Canada where the people are. So yeah, it was quite a nice experience.
I hear that a lot, that there's a lot of similarities with Canadians and Australians.
Yeah, very much so. I think I settled in really well, and everyone was really friendly, and the lifestyle is very similar in how people approach life here. So it was very similar to home, so I felt quite comfortable coming here, yeah.
Obviously, we want to keep it positive and upbeat, but were there any challenges that people maybe need to be aware of?
I think the biggest challenge that everyone will go through is just trying to stay in touch with friends and family back home. The time change can be a little bit difficult, but if you make an effort, it's really not that hard to do that. So yeah.
I think even if you're in the next room, you're still on FaceTime or you're texting. Sure. I know I text my siblings. It's like hilarious. So
yeah, it's awesome. And sometimes
times have changed now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's even easier now than back in 2012. Like we've
completely
so far.
Yeah.
So what did you do after you graduated?
So I did an internship as part of my last placement at Bond, and out of that internship I actually got my job out of that, and so I got my work visa, started working there, put in a lot of time, and just gradually built that clinic up, and been working there full time ever since, actually. Yeah.
You obviously said it's a relaxed lifestyle, but what was it really about the Gold Coast that made you stay and actually want to build a career and get focused here? Why here?
Well, my now wife was one of the reasons, but at the same time, I think the lifestyle here is very healthy, and people are very fixed on staying healthy and staying active, so it's a really good environment to be a physiotherapist in. Yeah.
So that would help you. They've done half the work.
Yeah, coming in for the most part. Yeah, definitely.
That actually probably makes it better as well in terms of rehabilitation. They'll probably listen and.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot more opportunity to get outside and do exercise here on the Gold Coast where it's sunny most of the time, and I think people love that and want to stay involved with that. So rehab is quite easy for them. Yeah.
Definitely. What about the process for you being able to stay and work in Australia? Can you give us an idea of how that was for you?
Yeah, as Rob mentioned before, Rebecca Terry was quite helpful in just giving us information on the visas you need, and you can do that all as you kind of go towards your graduation. So getting my work visa was quite okay, and a couple of years later, permanent residency, and then moved on to citizenship this year, actually. So. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
How fantastic. A lot's happened since 2012.
Yeah, very much, yeah.
Do you have any advice for students who are watching at home that might be considering applying for a Bond's Doctor of Physiotherapy? And you get the title Doctor, right? That's surely enough.
Kind of, yeah. Yes. Yeah, look, I think the biggest thing is if you're passionate about helping people and passionate about rehabilitation, exercise as medicine. I think the physio program, because you spend so much time in hospital and clinical placement, you get so much hands-on that you come out of it feeling really confident that you can enter the workforce prepared. So I think it's a fantastic experience. I enjoyed every minute, and I continue to enjoy my time, yeah.
I think it's sort of something that you can then apply to the real world, and I love that. Those skills are forever, which is fantastic.
I think so, and you get a really good work-life balance. You can choose how hard or how well you want to work, so I come home happy every day, yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciated diving into your mind for the day. Right. Now, the Doctor of Physiotherapy is a postgraduate degree, but Bond also offers a number of undergraduate level programs in health sciences and medicine. One of those programs is the Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science, which also involves extensive work placement as part of the program. In a moment, we're going to be speaking to another one of Bond's alumni, but first, let's take a look inside a work placement.
The Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science has a range of workplace opportunities for students. As part of the program, we have a number of industry partners that we work with. We've developed relationships across the industry, and that obviously is in both within the sports sector and also in the exercise and fitness sector as well.
With the last two students that we've had, both Zach and Jordan, we've had them out on the water, everything from coaching, holding on to a stopwatch, videoing, to in the gym, helping out with the weights, setting programs within there. In the last few weeks, we've been giving them a stopwatch, and basically I'm sitting back and going, hey boys, go for it. You're the coach here today.
So what we've got both Zach and Jordan to do while they're here is just experience kind of what it's like to live in the day in the life of what we do here. We try and make that prac component as close to what we do every day. So they're programming, they're talking with athletes, they're cueing them on exercises and everything that goes along with that. So it's a whole product really. I guess the professionalism that we see from the Bond students that come over has been always top notch.
So moving forward, this experience has taught me a lot of things from coaching, but also tying in a lot of that theoretical knowledge with our practical experience and our practical skills. That'll definitely help, but the massive thing was definitely networking. And networking while we were here with the coaches and the support staff that all these athletes have, and having those support staff and having a network with them is just going to help us moving forward in our careers when it comes to finding employment.
Working with these younger athletes and in previous experiences as well with Bond, there's been a whole range of different athletes I can work with, and I feel I can take that into any workplace as well.
Paddle Australia is a national sporting organisation that encompasses everything. We have our national events through to World Cups, World Championships, and then on to the Olympic Games. So I give the advice to students that want to get into the exercise industry to make sure that they enjoy it, to have fun, because sport's a passion. It's not a job, it's a passion. And for the athletes to get better, they need passionate coaches and passionate staff around them. We're here ultimately to win World Championship medals, Olympic medals, but we also want the kids to have a full journey of what sport can bring, because sport can offer so much outside of sport as well.
Bond alumni are working in more than 120 countries around the world, including Canada and the United States of America. Now let's speak to one of them, Jesse Green. After he finished his sports science degree at Bond, Jesse took the opportunity to move to the United States, first working at the University of Louisville and then joining the Sacramento Kings NBA basketball team in California, where he now works as the head of sports science. Jesse is joining us now all the way from California. Hello, Jesse. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Excellent, thank you. Very exciting career you've got. But let's go back for a second to your studies at Bond. What do you remember from your time as a student?
Oh, wow. I mean, student life was great upon reflection. I mean, I wish I could go back and spend another couple of years. But, I remember forging a ton of friendships. I mean, those friendships I still hold on to today. But also the X's and O's and the things you learn on a daily basis as well. Although it didn't seem so at the time, is certainly something that I've implemented on a daily basis. So certainly remember that, as well as making lifelong friends for sure.
So you've sort of touched on it, but just to reiterate, how did your time at Bond really propel you for this stage of your career?
Yeah, look, I think it's a couple things. First thing is certainly the accelerated program almost puts you a year ahead of your peers or of other people essentially going into other university environments. But second to that, I think, is not only the small cohort size, but the faculty and the lecturers are certainly well connected, and the programs themselves are well connected. So not only are you afforded more attention by the faculty members and the staff, but you're also connected as soon as you walk into the door. So I feel like they really set you up for success and really propels you down the road.
Yeah, you can fit a lot of life in straight after Bond, that's for sure. How did you end up in the USA?
Yeah, so I was working for the Brisbane Lions originally, straight out of uni, doing my honours year, and 3 years or so there, and really figured out that coming over to the States and working in the US was something I really wanted to do. And given the sporting environment over here, I thought there was a lot of opportunity as well. So applied for about 40 different jobs and managed to get the 41st at the University of Louisville. I was there for about a year, and then I was fortunate to land this job here in Sacramento.
And of course, the California lifestyle is very similar to here on the Gold Coast. How did you find applying for roles in the US with an Australian bond degree?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it certainly had its challenges, but at the same time, going back to my previous point of how well connected the university is in and of itself, I mean, you don't have to walk too far or go too far to find a faculty member or even another student or an alumni that is working overseas, and especially in high performance sport. It's a pretty tight knit community. So if you, I guess, between a couple degrees, you can find someone else working in sport. So it wasn't too much of a barrier. It was actually quite helpful in that sense.
And your role at the Sacramento Kings sounds so interesting. It's got to be one of our best success stories. What does a typical day at work look like for you as the head of sports science?
Yeah, sure. So I guess going with the game day would be the easiest, given we have so many. But usually starts around the facility at about 8 to 9 a.m. where we get some treatments in, and some of the guys who don't play as much, they will get a session in, and we'll get a lift in with those guys as well. And then we'll collect some measures on those guys from a readiness and a performance standpoint to see where they're at in relation to where they've been. And then sort of during the middle of the day gives us a chance to sit down, review that data and create plans and audit our programs to determine are guys trending in the appropriate direction? Do some guys need more work, less work? Some modifications need to take place or not? And then at about 4 o'clock, we'll have our first pre-game meeting, and then from there it's collecting some more measurements, some more baseline testing. And then from there we have tip-off at about 7 p.m. And then luckily I'm able to sit down and watch the game when that tip-off occurs. All our data is collected automatically. So I'm able to watch the game, which goes 7 to 9:30, 10 o'clock, and watch these guys do what they do best, and that's play amazing basketball. And then following that, we sit down, review the data again, and get home at about midnight and do it all again.
Sounds so much fun though. I don't think you can complain of those big days, because that just sounds like a dream. I have to watch basketball at, on a global level every single day. It's been so wonderful chatting to you, Jesse. Keep up the amazing work. All the best for the rest of the season.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. We'll be back in a moment. Well, I can't believe it, but we've reached the end of our broadcast. Stuart, that is a wrap. So we've covered so much in the broadcast. Stuart, what do you think are the key takeaways for those watching? Over to you.
Well, as you said, we've seen so much information tonight. I really do hope that our viewers have got a great sense of who Bond University really is. Obviously, you can see we have a broad range of programs, and we have a real focus on helping Canadian students become educated and prepared for returning to Canada to work in their profession, to stay in Australia potentially, as we saw with Kyle, or to look at somewhere else in the world that they might wish to travel. The global perspective is something that Bond can really give them and prepare them for. So I think that's been awesome to see today.
I found today just super inspiring. That's my opinion. I'm just like, I need to read a book after this. I'm sure there have been so many students and potential students wanting more information on studying in Australia and of course at Bond University now. How can we all get in touch with you, Stuart?
Sure. So again, as we've said all throughout the presentation, head to our Bond website, bond.edu.au/study in Australia. Make sure you send an inquiry and I will be in touch with you from there and look forward to working with you on your admissions journey towards Bond University.
And of course, it's been so much fun being a virtual event, but I can't wait to meet you in person and come onto campus. Thank you everyone for joining us today for Study in Australia, live from Bond. If you missed any part of the broadcast, you can catch up on demand on our website. Don't forget to enter the draw to win a $1,000 Best Buy voucher by entering your details. Stay safe, everyone, and we hope to see you here in Australia and at Bond University very soon. See you soon.